Hi, everyone. I'm Chris Polani, the Senior Product Manager for the release stage here at GitLab.
I'm Daniel Fosco, the Senior Product Designer at Release on GitLab.
And this is the planning issue for release for 14.8. All right, so we'll start with the goals and engineering deliverables, and then I'll pass it over to Daniel to cover the design work happening in the milestone. This is the last milestone of the quarter, so we're really eager to cover a lot of ground and hit a lot of our quarterly goals. And the first goal of the milestone is to ship the environments page redesign. The next goal is to ship the deployment approval UI MVC. And finally, the last goal is to augment our existing instrumentation for the product. For our P1 deliverables, we have a mix of issues across the goals I just mentioned. First, we have the deployment block, which is the last environments redesign component we need for the entire page redesign. We've been building all the other components in the past few milestones. And once this is complete, we'll be able to ship the entire page redesign behind a feature flag. Next, we'll be building on the deployment approval API, which we completed in 14.7, and adding a UI to allow users to approve or reject a job that targets a protected environment. This will look something like this. As you can see, right within the environments page, the user will see some new buttons and have the ability to approve or reject a deployment. In the spirit of iteration, this first MVC does not include the comment functionality, but we'll be doing that next. I'm super excited about this feature in particular. We just spoke to a customer on Monday who's eager to implement a new workflow based on this capability to meet their strict security and approval requirements. The next issue is adding a configuration setting in the UI to set how many approvers are required for an environment as part of the approval feature we just talked about. Next is to augment our current deployment count with additional counters. So this is the first issue of our effort to improve our instrumentation so we can better understand how our users are using release features and deployments using GitLab. Right now, we're only counting deployments that are using the environments keyword and that feature in their YAML file. And so currently, we effectively undercount the number of deployments that are actually occurring within GitLab. And so we want to build upon this so that we can get a fuller picture of how teams are using GitLab to deploy their software. And it'll also show us and kind of point us to opportunities where we can, when they're not using environments, ways we can nudge them and encourage them to use environments and other features of the release stage. The next issue here, remove project and group releases, Json endpoints. This is a maintenance tech debt issue, so we want to pay this down and remove some needed endpoints. And then the last issue in P1, separate access model for deployment of approval. So we want to extend the access model by allowing teams to actually set deployment executors versus deployment approvers to give teams even more finer grained control over who is allowed to take what action related to deployments. As for P2 and P3, we have quite a few issues as well as stretch goals for the quarter. A lot of these are follow-ons to the instrumentation work, the UX scorecard issues that we're eager to fix in the product, and other various product support. With that, I'll hand it over to Daniel to discuss the design work.
Thanks for that, Chris. So for design, we have a quite packed milestone ahead of us. I'm actually start by mentioning this one, since there's a lot of design work this milestone that's supposed to support the front-end development of deployment approvals and deployment UIs, right? New environments page. So this entry is supposed to open up space for me to create pajamas components out of our new UIs. And that's important because these UIs will be reused in other pages in the near future in our product. So it's important to have these components as repeatable as reusable as possible in other pages. In terms of feature work, we have wrapping up the proposal for the group environments page. This is pretty much done, but we have to split it in two. So this is what it would look like, more or less. It's a high-level environments page on the group level at first. that contains all the projects and all the environments within that group. From the group environments proposal, we came up with a more advanced proposal for a dynamic deployments list. This would be a page that would list every single deployment in a given group and let you filter and basically set up your view with whichever deployments you need to see. It's still very early stages, so part of the effort listed here, it's also to validate this new issue. After that, we have a preparation for Scorecard for release. The link is coming soon. It's based on a bigger planning that's still pending. But the current status for that is an OpenMR that restructures our jobs to be done for release. That's a preparation for this scorecard. Next up, support the remaining design issues for deployment approvals. One of those is the update project settings that Chris mentioned. Is one of our first issues in the milestone in order for it to be developed. After that, we have one issue about adding an environment button to the pipelines. So in the pipelines page, you can open the link to your environments, to your review apps, whatever environments you have being created from the pipeline. And at last, an issue to display the environment tier on the environments page. So it's an information we already have in the API. It's an information that is already on the GitLab YAML file. So showing that up on the page, so in the near future, we can filter by tier and add more functionality on top of it. And at last, there's some capacity that's separated to focus on other upcoming UX department OKRs.
Okay, thank you, Daniel. So that's what we have. That's what we have planned for 14.8. More detail on the planning issue and each of the issues listed here. As always, if you have any questions or feedback, please feel free to reach out. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.